1980s were a really weird decade, but then every decade is really weird in its own way. The 80s had mullets and the almost total disappearance of sideburns, and also it had incredibly classy clothing. The 80s were also the first really digital decade. Home computers, home video, talking cars were a big thing, and the only thing more popular than science fiction movies was shoulder pads. So let's get started with the first 5 of 10 science fiction movies I like from the 1980s. But before we do, I usually get a few comments on these videos saying that movie isn't science fiction. If you look in the description of this video, I'm adding a definition of science fiction from Wikipedia. I'm here to talk about the movies, not the pigeonholes you want to put them in, okay? Here's the thing about any Michael Crichton movie you'll ever see, and you need to accept it if you're going to enjoy these movies. A Michael Crichton movie has a really big science fiction idea that looks good on the screen, and it also has totally generic human characters. This is particularly true for the ones he directed. Runaway has a big idea. What if robots were everywhere and they stuffed up in dangerous ways so often that you need a special police department to handle them? And what if a one-dimensional villain imaginatively named Luther, played by Gene Simmons, deliberately weaponized these robots and stole the chips that make it happen so that he can sell them to the highest bidder? That's the basis of Runaway. Tom Selleck plays Jack Ramsey, a cop in the Runaway squad, who gets a new partner, Karen Thompson, played by Cynthia Rhodes. Ramsey is a single dad for an annoyingly generic kid, played by Joey Kramer, who has a robot nanny called Lois. We also get Kirstie Alley showing up playing Jackie, the bad girl who steals the chip templates for her boyfriend Luther. Now, Luther has some cool weapons, I'll give him that. A heat-seeking missile, which can go around corners to kill a designated target, remote-controlled cars that are also landmines, and janky spider robots that can climb walls and inject corrosive acids into people. And Jack Ramsey has a cool weapon too. For some reason, cops have laser pistols. Not because they're more practical for taking down rogue robots, but because they look cool in a movie. In spite of all this, the movie is strangely watchable. The 1980s speculations about future technologies are quaint, but you do get tablet computers and home automation and something that looks a little bit like a modern-day drone, and low-res CRT monitors with interesting readouts. A lot of the plot beats in this film are taken from, strangely enough, James Bond movies. There's the good girl who lives and the bad girl who doesn't, a high-tech villain and a hero who has to do heroic stuff to beat him, and of course you need that final thing, a really nasty death for the villain. The movie also steals something from Hitchcock's Vertigo. Ramsey is scared of heights. There are a few awkwardly implemented futuristic touches here, like an automated sushi bar which looks like a steel cabinet with a neon sign on it, but the movie has a weird retro coolness about it. In the acting stakes, Selleck, Simmons and Alley are no more than competent here. However, Cynthia Rhodes gets the MVP. She tries to add some life and humanity into her cliched character of Thompson, and it works. Runaway is an artifact of its time. It wasn't a financial success and it ended the career of Michael Crichton as a movie director, but he was never really great at it anyway. But the movie's retrofuturism is a lot of fun, and you can be a little bit nostalgic about it when you watch it. 3 years before Runaway, Crichton made another film, Looker. This one looks at the technological manipulation of the public through broadcast media. Albert Finney plays Larry Roberts, who is a genius plastic surgeon. 4 beautiful women come to him to have extremely small adjustments made to their appearance, and they have printed out lists on the required modifications from a company called Digital Matrix Incorporated, which may be the most 1980s tech company name ever. After 3 of the women are murdered in ways designed to appear to be suicide, Larry and the 4th woman, Cindy, played by Susan Day, investigate DMI and its parent company, Reston Industries, run by John Reston, played by a still cool James Coburn.
We're a $6 billion conglomerate, 37 countries around the world. We're diversified into fast foods, leisure wear, pharmaceuticals. We do high technology, perceptual devices, military head-up displays, pinball machines.
Who, with his assistant Jennifer Long, played by Lee Taylor Young, is developing technologies that enable them to brainwash people through television. Again, the characters don't matter much. Finney is check cashing, and although Coburn commits to the role, he later said they cut the good stuff about media manipulation out of the film. But the coolest tech in this movie is also the most terrifying.
Well, hi, honey.
The Looker gun. It stands for Light Ocular Oriented Kinetic Emotive Responses. It's a device that blasts a coded light signal into your brain through your eyes, which temporarily prevents you from forming new memories by removing your ability to sense time. You get a flash and the next moment it's minutes later. The looker gun is the secret sauce in this movie. They really buried the lead by not making this technology the core of the film. The possibilities for abuse here are endless. There's a lot of the male gaze in looker, which the title kind of indicates, with beautiful women displayed like the product 1980s media perceive them as. Parts of the movie look like a Nagel print brought to life. We also get Terry Kaiser, Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's, as a video director, and a theme song which is completely 1980s. To cap things off, you have a strangely staged shootout, where digital actors appear on physical sets as robot cameras prowl around them. The ending's a bit tone-deaf too, with our hero and his girlfriend making jokes as they walk off the computer-controlled movie set, where they've left at least 3 dead bodies. It really lands flat. But that looker gun and the way it's revealed is the saving grace of this movie. It's an interesting piece of technology and very, very scary. This now forgotten Canadian cult musical science fiction midnight movie is still weird and unpredictable fun. George Dawson stars as Bob Sanderson, the butcher of the little 1950s Canadian town of Burquitlam, who's kind of half Pee Wee Herman and half Bobby Van in Small Town Girl. There are things about Burquitlam Bob doesn't know. The guy he just hired, Abdullah, is a serial killer. His septic tank where he throws his meat scraps has just mutated into radioactive polonium, and aliens in a flying saucer have taken an interest in the town. This is a strange movie. Abdullah, played by Clarence Big Miller, gets a couple of songs. The local amateur scientist, Jan Wazinski, who has a British accent unlike the rest of his family, does a science song.
Linoleum, uranium, plutonium, insanium, acid, alkali, red dye, goodbye.
And the aliens are played by toy robots. The production values here are rudimentary at best, and the script screams for someone to give it another run through. But it's an endearingly awkward film, punching above its weight by not only being a love letter to 1950 science fiction movies, but also to the 1980s cult film world of which it is a part. I saw this one at a genuine midnight movie session in the 80s at the lost and lamented Valhalla Cinema in Sydney, which was just walking distance from my little terrace cottage. You have to be in the right headspace for this kind of a midnight movie. A few beverages, a couple of like-minded friends, some snacks and a comfy couch. And you can lean into the random things that happen in this film, like 3 belly dancers who appear at a town hall basement for no good reason. If you can get into that headspace, you're going to have a good time with Big Meat Eater. Made on a shoestring budget in 4 weeks, coming in at a tight 80 minutes, Android goes beyond the usual VHS-era science fiction movies. An uncredited Don Opper plays Max 404, an android living on a remote research space station, while the man who made him, Dr. Daniel, played by the creepy and repugnant Klaus Kinski, works on creating a perfect female android called Cassandra. Max is fascinated by human beings and popular culture and human sexuality. He works as a janitor to Dr. Daniel. When a spaceship carrying escaped prisoners approaches the station, Max lets them board and soon finds out what humans are really like. The men, Keller and Mendez, are harsh, brutal convicts, but the third prisoner, Maggie, played by Bree Howard, is a political prisoner who will do what she needs to survive. Maggie takes a liking to Max without knowing that he's not a human being, while Dr. Daniel sees her as a way of getting better measurements for his perfect woman, Cassandra. Using minimalist sets and some pretty good special effects for the time, all scrounged from Roger Corman's previous productions, Android works well because we like Max. He's shy and he's naive, and he has a puppy dog willingness to please. The movie leads us into this with the front title showing us Max making little robots from spare parts, which the movie then shows us with a bit of cute stop-motion animation. There are some echoes of this movie in more modern films like Ex Machina. Android shows what you can do with a low budget and a good script, a few resources and a solid cast. It's a hidden gem and you should check it out. But I've saved the best for last. Thanks to my friend Grant Watson over at fictionmachine.com for the tip-off about this French-language animated movie designed by the great comic book artist Jean Giraud, also known as Mobius. The movie is based on a 1958 science fiction novel by Stephen Wall. It's mind-blowingly good. A small boy, Pierre, is alone on the planet Perdide, hiding from swarms of giant hornets that plague the planet. His parents have just been killed and they've left him with an egg-like device, a communicator he calls Mike, which is linked to his parents' friend Jafar, the captain of the spaceship Double Triangle 22. Jafar and his spaceship are taking the dethroned Prince Maton and his sister Belle away from the planet they once ruled, along with a big hoard of treasure. Jafar diverts to attempt to rescue Pierre, aided by an old spacer, Silbad, who lives on a beautiful planet with which he has fallen in love, and Silbad and 2 telepathic homunculi from the planet help with the rescue mission. En route they stop at Gamma 10, which is inhabited by hordes of faceless white angels that are creepily evangelical. They escape the angels before hiding in a blue comet to attempt to rescue Pierre from Perdide without the authorities knowing. This is a beautiful looking film with a strong plot. It has striking visuals and a design aesthetic that you won't see anywhere else. The animation is somewhat basic, but it's the story, the characters and the twists that will carry you through. You need to see this one, it really is a hidden gem. So thank you for watching again. As always, please consider liking, subscribing and leaving a comment and hitting the notification bell. The 1980s had a lot of science fiction movies in it, but not a lot of really good ones, and I'm going out on a limb by saying that. You can also support the channel by donating at patreon.com/paleocinema. Anyway, as always, look after yourselves, stay safe, watch some good movies, watch some bad movies, dip back into the 1980s and see what you can find. And I'll catch you next time.